Hello, and welcome to the sixth episode of VisionEx, an initiative by the Entrepreneurship Cell, Sri Aurobindo College. As they say, where there is no vision, there is no hope. I'm your host, Mudita Gulati, and today we have a special guest who was featured in Shark Tank India Season 2 and is revolutionizing the way India enjoys its comfort food. Joining us is the visionary co-founder and chief dreamer at MOPP Foods and mad over parathas and pakoras, a brand that's redefined how we savor these classic Indian delicacies. What started as a humble idea has become a vibrant culinary phenomenon, offering a unique blend of tradition and innovation. Today, Mr. Gaurav Gupta will share the incredible journey of transforming a passion for Indian food into a thriving business. We'll explore how they navigated the challenges of building a brand into the competitive food industry, their thoughts on preserving the soul of Indian street food while innovating, and what's next for this exciting venture. So, without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Gupta, the creative force behind Mad Over Pakoras and Paranthas. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today, sir.
Thank you, Mudita, for that lovely introduction. Really appreciate that, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to share my experiences, and I'm sure, even though it's a learning day, every day is a learning day for us as well here. But with whatever experiences I have had in my journey, of course, if I can pass on to the new generation, that's something is going to be, like my small contribution towards the entrepreneurship community. Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. So let's start from the beginning, sir. India, where Mad Over Parathas and Pakoda first began. Like, what sparked the concept, and how did you turn it into a thriving brand it is today?
Okay, so this goes back to 2018, which is about 6 years back. Gitika, who's my co-founder and also my wife, we were actually looking for an opportunity in food space. Interestingly, we are both foodies. We love food, and we wanted to, for a long time, we have been looking, to do something in food particularly. So we were doing a lot of research to see, figure out where there is a gap or where there is an opportunity which we can tap into. And during that period, we found that we see so many burger brands, so many pizza brands, momo brands, biryani brands, but there is nobody who is trying to scale parathas and pakoras. While these are very, very, strong and popular dishes, especially in North India and also in rest of the India as well now, because we kind of have become, Cosmo in that sense. Uh, so we saw that there is definitely an opportunity here, because uh, if we go back 10 years, there was no Momo brand, right? So it's Wow Momo who started the first, and now you have at least 100 brands of Momos, and they're all thriving. So the same thing intended to replicate with MOPP, which is Mad Over Parathas and Pakodas. Yeah, so that was the inception of the idea, that where we found this opportunity and why did we start this off. Yeah.
Can you tell us, like, what inspired you to co-found Mob Foods, and what problem did you aim to solve in the industry?
See, in terms of problem, see, for any venture, it's basically either an opportunity or a gap, right? So we saw both here, because when we talk about gap, so there was no chain, a large chain of parathas and pakoras, so that's kind of a gap. But at the same time, that also serves as an opportunity for us to be the first mover and create a large organization around these products, a food business around these products. So that was the basic gap and opportunity. When it comes to, in terms of solving problem, I mean, the biggest issue that we faced was we found the problem in the product itself, and that was perhaps the reason why there was nobody who was trying to scale parathas and pakoras. So when we talk about pakoras, it's not delivery friendly, right? Because it's kind of supposed to be, it's perceived to be oily, And because of the high oil content, when you pack it and deliver it, by the time it gets to the customer, it has cooled down, and during that cooling process, it releases oil, moisture, and it becomes a messy, not a very nice visual to eat. Because when it comes to food, how it looks, it also extremely important. The first thing that you experience with food is visuals, then you start eating, right? So the visuals have to be right. So that was a big challenge. So that's where we actually again started off research and development, I would say, uh, process to see how we can improve the product itself to make it delivery friendly. We spent almost 8 to 9 months working on that, doing a lot of trials. We spent a lot of uh, time, money, energy over this. There's science which went behind this, and we came up with a formula of a batter which actually keeps our pakoras fresh and crispy even after, let's say, 45 days. That's something which is very unique in our product. Alongside the product recipe innovation, we have also innovated with the packaging also, because it's not just the product itself, it also how it is packed, and how it is dispatched and carried in the journey would also impact its the end result or end product that actually ends up at the customer. So yeah, so overall we spent a lot of time and money energy in developing both the packaging and the product. And yeah, when we got that, that's when we launched the first kitchen. And as expected, because there was a gap, we got a huge response in the first kitchen itself. So it's been no looking back since then.
It is really nice. I myself am a foodie, can totally relate with it.
Mhm. Great.
So, sir, how did you identify the gap in the market for a brand like MOPP Foods? And what research went into validating your idea?
See, in terms of first research is simply where do you have parathas and pakoras brands available. So that was the first thing that we started looking. Then, of course, where else do you search for food? You search for food on applications like Zomato and Swiggy. I actually spent days just logging onto these applications, going to different cities. You can change the location on the application and then see what brands are delivering in that area. So I actually spent days and perhaps weeks just doing that to figure out whether there are any existing brands in this space or not. We also did a lot of before launching a lot of focus group interviews where we actually kind of, in a way, it's kind of a survey that you can call it, where we discussed about the opportunity. We asked question to people. We also, I mean, of course, within the friends and family circle also, we did a lot of surveys and queries to understand what we start off is going to be scalable or not. Because launching a venture is one thing, but obviously we didn't want to leave our corporate jobs to start something which is just going to be contained to a single location or a small area. So it had to be something which is scalable across the country, at least 300 locations. That was our first criteria. Of course, main thing was product, which we had developed. But then the other thing was whether we are able to develop a business model which is scalable. Yeah, so when we by the time we had launched the first kitchen, uh, everything was set in that order that we could see that the opportunity is actually scalable across India. Um, I have friends across all major cities, so I spoke to them to see whether they crave for these products or not, whether they actually eat these products or not. A lot of people said that parathas and pakoras is something which people prefer to make it at home, right, rather than ordering. But then we also recognized uh, that the market is changing. We are getting busier and busier day by day, and that is the reason why the food delivery apps like Zomato and Swiggy were, flourishing. So we saw that that is going to eventually uh, bring customers to, on these applications to order parathas and pakoras also. uh, the same thing was happening with meals as well. That's when we actually kind of added another brand later on, that's a meals brand, that's an equally strong, or rather a stronger brand than MOPP. So there's a lot of thought process, research, surveys that has gone into eventually understanding the opportunity size and then launching it.
Like you said, can you walk us through the early day of MOPP Foods? Like, what were the some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge that we faced from the customer's perspective was to actually for customer to understand that pakoda particularly is a product that is now available, that there are people and it can be produced in a in a form where it doesn't become soggy or messy. So a lot of questions were asked whether we are adding anything to the product itself which is making it delivery friendly. So obviously we were pretty conscious of that, and in fact we have not added anything to the product which is harmful. There is no preservatives. It's all natural basis. It's a simple mix of flours, something things that we eat in a normal day, something which is not going to cause any that to the customers, but was a bit of a challenge in the beginning. But yeah, a lot of PR and a lot of customer engagement helped. Uh, what I've realized is the customer is the king. It's a fact, and the more you talk to your customer, the better it is for your product and your business. If you stay away from your customer, that's not going to get you, long in your journey, because eh, the thing is, we are living in a very fast, or rather, an environment which is changing very fast. So if you're not connected with your customer, while you may imagine that the business or the customer's thinking process is in a particular way, but that's changing very fast. Think about 2 or 3 years back, quick commerce was something which was just laughed out, right? Your Blinkit and Zepto, people didn't believe in that concept. But now, 2 years down the line, see the amount of growth that is happening there, and how the customer that they are happy to order things in 10 minutes. Forget about just grocery and chips. They're even ordering their mobile phones and appliances on these applications. So if we don't know what's happening in customer mind, we will be left behind. So that is why it was very important. So we were engaged with our customers. We were regularly talking to them. We were regularly running campaigns in our store. Originally, we actually wanted to be a QSR. As I said, we were inspired by Wow Momo, so we wanted to be a QSR, like a small takeaway outlet, and that's how we started off. It was unfortunately during COVID that obviously we faced challenge, and then we had to pivot our model to a delivery friendly or other delivery focused business model. So yeah, that's about how we have approached.
So, as you mentioned, like COVID-19 pandemic had a great influence on our lives. So, how did it influence your pivot into a cloud kitchen model?
Yeah, so that was a big turning point for us. Fortunately, we had already gained the cost confidence of some angel investors, and we had raised our first round of angel funding before COVID, and we had launched two more locations. So we had three by the time COVID hit us. In fact, the one of the kitchens was only launched a week before the national lockdown date, which was 22nd of March. So when customers were not walking around, the markets were shut. There was hardly any footfall. We were actually left wondering for options and thinking what to do. And I think that comes as first nature to entrepreneurs, that you don't give up, right? You keep thinking, you keep there's this buzzword hustle, so you keep hustling there, that what are your options to have a day, have a tomorrow and a day after, because you don't want to perish because of any challenge. So COVID was the biggest challenge we faced in our journey, or particularly if we talk about any food and beverage business, it couldn't have been worse, right? So we went back to drawing board to see what were our options, what we could do to extend our runway and sail through that period. This is when we saw business model of cloud kitchens with Rebel and Boxit and many other cloud kitchen models. And we were anyways delivering a large portion of our business was anyways happening online. And during COVID, it turned 100% online. So, So that's when that was a eureka moment to say that let's take this drastic step and leave all our high street expensive stores and move to a cheaper cloud kitchen location, because anyways the business is happening online. And so we moved to a completely cloud model during COVID. And that's when when we moved to cloud model, it became imperative for us to operate multiple brands from those kitchens, because we all obviously were looking to maximize the revenue and sweat our resources and assets as much as possible. um, did the research again to see what is the next opportunity uh, in delivery business particularly, and we found a great business model. There were benchmarks, the market was already established. uh, Players like Box 8 were already delivering. There were many local meals brands as well.
Mhm.
So we also picked up that category and launched our brand, meals brand, which is called Mealy, MEALY. It is all about your homely meals, and with this brand also we stuck to that simple idea that we would deliver homely food to your doorstep. Uh, and It has been such a great journey with this brand as well, with that today it's even stronger than MOPP. So I think the learning from there, which I would want to pass on to everybody, is that in your journey as an entrepreneur, you will face a number of challenges. Just don't be deterred by any of them. Face them upfront and figure out a strategy so that you have tomorrow and day after, and don't keep shutting down or failure as an option.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So, sir, previously, like you had a successful corporate career with working with top oil and gas companies like Petrofac and McDonald.
Yeah.
So, what were some of your key takeaways from that or those experience?
See, I think whatever I learned through my corporate life, it was about business management, right? Um, a lot of people, they actually wonder that why I changed from an oil and gas industry to a food and beverage industry, which is completely detached. So my answer to them is very simple: that for me, I'm actually sector agnostic. So it could be or industry agnostic, because I have learned business management through my career, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could fit myself into any industry, because the basic principles of any industry are same. It's only about how a particular business model works, and that is something which one can adapt and learn very fast if there is intent. As an entrepreneur, we learn, as I mentioned in the beginning, also we learn every day something new. So learning never stops. So that's one of the biggest trait of any entrepreneur, that you have to keep learning. So that's what it is. I learned about the basics of business management through my career in corporate life, and that's what I am actually those principles are only what I'm actually applying on my daily life as an entrepreneur now, which is helping me to scale my venture. Excuse me. Yeah.
So you appeared on Shark Tank India too, and secured a deal with Amit Jain. Can you take us through that experience?
Hmm. That was an experience of lifetime, because obviously we have never been in that environment where you are surrounded by, I don't know what, 30 to and the whole unit around you, and you have five sharks sitting in front of you, and you're being shot for a national television. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety. Yeah, so it was an experience of a lifetime, I would say. But I think mm, had it been early in my career, I probably would have had jitters. But the journey of being an entrepreneur has made us so strong that actually now we can face anything and everything without being worried or being anxious about what will be the outcome. That we can't control the outcome. What we can control is that moment, and how we behave and how we approach in that moment. So the whole thought process was that Gitika and I both we discussed that let us just take every moment. as it is right now and do our best in that. And obviously result is something which we cannot control. So fortunately the outcome was positive. Amit gave put in his faith on us, and we're very happy. He's a great guy, he's been helpful. Journey So those the whole period of shoot and after the shoot, when it were telecasted, and the exposure that we got as a venture has actually uplifted us at least 10 notch above where we were before the launch.
So what exactly was going through your mind during the business pitch? Like how did you prepare for it?
See, I frankly I didn't have to prepare for business pitch. We did, of course, watch a few Shark Tank episodes, and the intent was just to understand the format. And because it's my business, right? I don't need anyone else to tell me, or I don't need to mug up anything from my business. If I don't know my own business, there's no point running it. So all the numbers and how we conduct business is there ingrained in my brain and my body throughout. So I didn't have to prepare anything. It was more about understanding the format. And when we were there shooting for it, so the team of the Shark Tank India, they guided us that how we have to conduct ourselves during the shoot. There were a lot of ifs and buts. Yeah, that's all. There was no other specific preparation that I had to do, uh, because it was about my business, right? I was not presenting any other business. It was something which I was living day in and day out.
Absolutely. Can you brief us like how the investment from Amit Jain impacted your business? Like what did you learn from that experience?
So the investment has obviously helped in the sense that we could add another kitchen. We also added another brand post the funding. Amit has been a great support. We have met him a number of times. Every time we meet him, he's very encouraging and guiding us in the right direction. So I would say this is definitely a huge milestone in the kind of exposure that we have got. As a startup and as entrepreneurs is something which was probably not possible in a short span of time. It would have taken us years to reach in terms of exposure. uh, Wherever we go, people know us, right? So people have seen us on television, people know about MOPP. So more than us, I mean, it's important that the venture should be known, the startup should be known, people should be aware that we exist, they should be aware what we are doing. So if they are aware, eventually they will also use our product. So that awareness that we have got after Shark Tank is something which we could not have gained even in years. So that's what we are very proud of, and thankful to God for that this happened. Yeah, so that's what I would say. Money is of course an incentive, because that helps you scale, but exposure is something which is unparalleled.
Any particular tough decision you made as a founder and what was the outcome?
Tough decision. Actually, we make every now and then we end up making big decisions, tough decisions. Um, how do I say? I mean, I would say there have been a few tough decisions. Of course, the biggest was during COVID, when we had to pivot our model from a cloud kitchen model, and the so but apart from that, I would say there's also been about a change of a brand name. So we also have another brand called Sassy Indian. Prior to, I mean, a few months back, it was called Mad Over Curry. We realized a few months down the line that the brand name wasn't working for us well. After a lot of again uh, studying the customer and taking the feedback, we realized that this was not working. So we had to take that hard decision of changing the brand name, which eventually worked for us. So I would say there's no specific hard decision that we have had to make, apart from changing our first business model to cloud kitchen. Apart from that, it's been all business as usual decisions. In terms of decisions, what I would say to to the audience is that I am a strong believer of the fact that we must take a decision fast and not delay it beyond a stipulated time, because a good decision delayed could turn into a bad decision. Rather, I believe that take a decision fast and then do anything and everything to make sure that that was the right decision. So prove that decision was the right decision by your work once you have taken the decision.
Sir, how do you see MOPP Foods evolving in the next 5 to 7 years, and what are your plans for expansion?
So we have plans to actually go. As of now, we are only a Delhi NCR based brand. The intent is to reach out to more and more cities, and penetrate into even tier 2 cities. If we talk about a 5 to 7 year plan, we are looking at going to at least 300 kitchens. That has been our original plan. That has not changed. How we are going to get there is going to be a mix of our own kitchens, our own stores, and we are also going to be scaling through a partner model where we will be launching our brands in a partnership with other existing uh, food and beverage outlets. Particularly, if we talk about tier 2 city, that is going what is going to happen. What we where we see the business 5 to 7 years is definitely a window where we would be looking to have a top line of about 500 crores, and looking at an IPO or a larger exit for everybody who has given their time, money, and energy into this business. Uh, Biggest of them is, of course, being available across the country. 300 kitchens is what our target is.
Proceeding further, sir, how has your leadership style changed as your company has outgrown?
Leadership style changes. Okay. I don't think that I have changed as a leader, or my leadership styles have changed. Definitely there have been learnings that I have adopted in my leadership styles. I've always been very a good listener to advices coming from investors, from employees, from friends and family. And how I used to take decision earlier, it was more democratic. It remains to be democratic. However, as I mentioned earlier, in that process or in that intent of being taking a decision in a democratic way, I do not delay a decision, because if you try to take an excessive democratic route, you may end up delaying the decision. For me, if something has to be decided, I will take a opinion of everybody, but make sure that the decision is taken fast, and then implement whatever needs to be done to ensure that it turns out to be a right decision. I've always made sure that the staff is happy, because what I believe is, if your staff is happy, then only they will produce a product which will make the customers happy. So it's a whole cycle. If your staff is not happy, the product will be not nice, and then end of the day, it will hurt the business. So there are certain very basic principles that I've followed. Leadership style hasn't changed. Yes, I've learned many things in my journey and adopted and included them in my uh, style of business or how I lead. But basic is all the same.
Just wanted to ask that, as you mentioned that quick decisions are to be made, na?
Yeah.
So any particular regret for making a quick decision that you may have regretted later?
I think I would say I gave the example that we launched a brand which was called Mad Over Curry.
Right, of curries, yes.
So I still think that probably we took that decision very fast without spending enough time in researching whether the brand name is apt. for a delivery business or not. So apart from that, nothing major that comes across to my mind right now. We've been lucky with our locations. We have been lucky with our staff hiring. We have been lucky with our. I'm using the term lucky, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of thought process that goes behind every decision. When I'm saying that I believe in taking the decision fast, I don't mean that I don't mean haste by the word fast. Don't just sleep over a decision. Haste is something you just flip over and take a decision. That's not the case. Yeah, but one decision where I thought that I could have probably taken a bit longer time and done a bit more of a due diligence is choosing the brand name for the third brand that we had.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, now moving towards the end of our podcast, at the last, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those who want the food and beverage industry?
See, my advice to any entrepreneur or anybody who's wanting to open a food and beverage business or any venture to that matter is simply that when you launch or when you decide to take the plunge, just give it your 100% and do not keep failure as an option, because if you will keep failure as an option, uh, that will always play in your mind that, oh, it's not working out, I should now just move on and take up a job and leave. So that will always play on your mind. If you're an entrepreneur, do not keep failure as an option in your mind. Just keep solving the problems. There will be n number of problems, thousands of problems, day in and day out. You have to keep solving them. If you keep going like that, uh, every problem will get solved and you will eventually get where you want to get. But if you will have in your back of the mind that what is my plan B or fallback plan, um, there is a good chance that you may end up taking that fallback plan. So don't have a fallback plan. Just ensure that you are having a tomorrow. And for that, you need to do anything and everything to survive today. That's how I have taken my journey, and I'm hopeful that the journey will continue that way, and we will continue to have a tomorrow and day after and grow.
Sir, did you ever have a thought of dropping the plan or like double thoughts or something like that?
See, as I said, I did never had a plan B. This is my only plan A, and I have to make sure that this succeeds. But there are anxious moments that happens with any entrepreneur. But whenever I have an anxious moment, but because I don't have a plan B, I tell myself, "What's the point thinking about it? You don't have a plan B. Just solve this and go on." So that's how I approach. So that's how has been the journey for last 5.5 years, and we have been growing. God has been kind. Every problem that we have faced, we've been able to get a solution, and I hope that will continue forever.
So, what is the one thing that keeps you motivated?
The biggest thing that keeps me motivated is to see my, currently we are at our scale we have about 80 staff, right? uh, Anytime I see uh, my lower level staff and I see them happy and fulfilling their small things, like them buying a new phone and them buying a new cloth or a new shoe and a smile on their face, that's something which I really love, and that's the motivator. Gitika and I both talk that that's the reason we don't have a fallback plan, because now currently 80 families are dependent on us, right? And we would want this to grow, and tomorrow this number will increase, so the responsibility even increases further. So that is the biggest motivator for us, that we are feeding about 80 families, and that's our kind of impact that we create, and that's a motivator for us.
That is such a sweet thing, I would say. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for sharing your inspiring journey with us today. It's incredible to learn about the passion, hard work, and innovation that has gone into building mad over parathas and pakoras. Your insights on overcoming challenges, staying true to your vision, and continuously evolving in a competitive market have been truly enlightening. We wish you and your team continued success as you delight more customers with your unique flavor and experiences.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to inspire aspiring entrepreneurs and food enthusiasts alike. Looking forward to seeing where your journey takes you next.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very much.
so much, Salah.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.